Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever felt trapped by the shadows of your past? Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, maybe I've made too many mistakes to change now? Let me tell you something with absolute certainty. Your past does not define you. It may have shaped you. It may have tested you, but it does not have the power to decide who you become unless you give it that power. We all carry scars. Some are visible, most are not. But those scars are not symbols of weakness. They are proof that you survived. They are reminders that you have already faced pain, rejection, failure, heartbreak, and you're still standing. That's strength. That's resilience. That's power. See, the world loves to remind you of who you were, but the real question is, who are you willing to become? The past is a classroom, not a prison. The mistakes, the heartbreaks, the wrong turns, they were lessons, not life sentences. You're not your failures. You're not your pain. You're not your past decisions. You are the decision you make next. Stop wearing your past like a name tag. Every experience, every mistake, every setback was meant to teach you something, not define you. Growth begins when you stop identifying with what happened to you and start learning from what happened for you. Life is not punishing you, it's preparing you. Your past is a lesson, not a label. Too often, people walk through life wearing their past like a heavy coat. Every mistake, every heartbreak, every regret stitched into the fabric who they think they are. They let it define their worth, their capabilities, and even their future. But your past was never meant to imprison you. It was meant to educate you. It's not your identity, it's your instructor. The experiences you've gone through are not random punishments. They were necessary lessons designed to prepare you for who you're becoming. When you start to see your past through the lens of growth rather than guilt, something powerful happens. You stop asking, why did this happen to me? And you start asking, what is this trying to teach me? That shift changes everything. Every challenge you faced carried a message, a lesson, a tool you can use to build your next chapter. The heartbreak taught you how to love deeper and wiser. The rejection taught you how to stand on your own feet. The failure taught you how to persevere. Life doesn't hand you pain to destroy you. It hands you pain to shape you into the person capable of carrying your dreams. Think of a diamond. Before it becomes something beautiful, it must endure tremendous pressure. Your past was that pressure. It was sculpting you, molding you, refining you into something stronger, more valuable, and more resilient. But here's the problem. Many people never see it that way. They allow one bad chapter to convince them that the whole book is ruined. They say, I failed once, so I must be a failure. I got hurt, so I must be unlovable. I made mistakes, so I must be broken. Those are labels, not truths. Labels limit you. Lessons liberate you. The moment you attach a label to your identity, especially one built on past pain, you shrink your potential. You build walls around what you can achieve. But when you treat your past as a lesson, those same experiences become your greatest fuel for transformation. The mistake no longer defines you, it refines you. Think of anyone who has achieved greatness. They didn't get there without a past filled with missteps and challenges. The difference is they refused to let those moments define who they were. They saw them as stepping stones. Every failure became feedback. Every setback became strength training for the soul. That's how champions think. That's how transformation happens. Your past is a part of your story, but it's not your story's title. It's a paragraph, not the cover. You can learn from it, grow from it, even be grateful for it, but you are never required to stay stuck in it. When you stop labeling yourself by what went wrong, you open the door to what can go right. The truth is, you are not who you were 5 years ago, 5 months ago, or even 5 minutes ago. Every breath, every experience, every decision shapes a new version of you. You are constantly evolving, and evolution means leaving behind old versions that no longer serve you. The pain you felt, the choices you regret, the things you wish you could redo, they don't disqualify you. They qualify you to understand life at a deeper level. They make you more empathetic, more aware, more capable of guiding others who feel lost in their own pasts. So when your mind tries to remind you of your failures, remind yourself of what they taught you. You are not the sum of your mistakes. You are the product of your lessons. Your past doesn't define your identity, it refines your destiny. Every scar is proof of growth, every tear is evidence of strength, and every setback is a seed for your next success. Your past was never a label, it was a lesson written just for you, preparing you for the extraordinary future that still awaits. Transformation doesn't start with luck, it starts with choice. The moment you say, no, I'm done letting my past dictate my future, that's the moment your life begins to change. One decision made with conviction can redirect your destiny. You don't need permission from anyone to start over. You only need courage. Change begins with a decision. Every transformation, every breakthrough, every new chapter in life starts at the exact moment you decide that where you are is no longer enough. It doesn't happen when the timing is perfect, when circumstances align, or when someone gives you permission. It happens when you draw a line in the sand and say, I'm done living this way. That single decision, made with conviction, holds more power than years of waiting for the right conditions. People spend their whole lives waiting for inspiration, waiting for motivation, waiting for the stars to align, but waiting never changes anything. Decision does. When you decide to change, you awaken a force inside you that has been sleeping, a force of will, focus, and determination that turns the impossible into the inevitable. The truth is, most people underestimate the power of a single decision. They think change requires massive action or perfect plans, but in reality, it starts internally with a shift in belief. You decide that you deserve better, that you will no longer tolerate mediocrity, that your story is far from over. That decision begins to alter your thoughts, your emotions, your habits. And as your inner world shifts, your outer world follows. The moment you commit fully, no, maybes, no, I'll try. The universe responds to your certainty. Life starts rearranging itself to match the standard you've decided to set. Every person who's ever reinvented their life started with a moment of raw honesty. They looked at where they were, saw the truth without excuses, and made a decision. This ends now. Maybe it was the person who decided to break free from addiction, the one who left a toxic environment, or the one who finally pursued a long-forgotten dream. Their circumstances didn't change first. Their decision did. That's how power works. Decision creates energy, and energy fuels action. Without decision, motivation fades and progress stalls. But with decision, even the smallest steps gain unstoppable momentum. You see, there's a difference between wanting to change and deciding to change. Wanting is passive. It's a wish. It says, I hope things get better. Deciding is active. It declares, I will make things better. One keeps you dreaming, the other makes you move. The reason so many people feel stuck is that they keep hoping instead of deciding. They say, one day I'll start, but one day never comes. The day you decide is the day things start to shift, because decision transforms desire into direction. When you decide, you take ownership. You stop blaming your past, your environment, your circumstances, and start claiming your power. You realize that your life is a reflection of the choices you make every single day. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your decisions. You can't control every event, but you can control how you respond. And that response begins with choice. Some decisions will be small, some will be life-altering, but each one carries weight. Each one shapes the path ahead. Change doesn't come from luck or chance. It comes from clarity and commitment. You have to decide what you truly want and be willing to pay the price for it. Whether that price is discipline, discomfort, or persistence, it's worth it. Because the alternative is staying the same, living below your potential, and knowing deep down that you are capable of more. The pain of change is temporary, but the pain of regret lasts a lifetime. You don't need to know every step of the journey. You just need to take the first one with faith that the path will unfold as you move forward. The decision itself lights the way. Once you commit, doors begin to open, opportunities appear, and strength you didn't know you had rises within you. That's the magic of decision. It ignites transformation. Your entire life can change in a single moment. The moment you decide you are no longer willing to settle for less than you're capable of. Change isn't something that happens to you. It's something that begins because you decided it was time. The things that once broke you can now build you. The truth is, the strongest people you know didn't get there through comfort. They were forged through pain. But here's the secret: pain is not there to destroy you. It's there to grow you. When you face it, own it, and use it, your greatest pain becomes your greatest weapon for transformation. Pain can become power. It's one of the most profound truths of human growth, yet one that most people resist for far too long. Pain feels uncomfortable, raw, and consuming. It can make you question your worth, your strength, even your purpose. But hidden inside every painful experience is a seed of transformation waiting to be uncovered. The difference between those who stay broken and those who rise stronger is not the amount of pain they've felt, but how they choose to use it. Pain, when faced with courage, becomes fuel. It sharpens your focus, deepens your empathy, and strengthens your resilience. It becomes the fire that forges greatness. Every person alive has experienced pain in some form: loss, failure, rejection, betrayal, disappointment. Some people let it define them. Others let it drive them. The ones who grow through pain understand something vital. Pain is not there to destroy you. It's there to teach you. It exposes what needs healing, what needs changing, and what needs releasing. When you stop running from pain and start learning from it, you begin to transform it into wisdom and strength. The same experience that once made you cry can later become the reason someone else doesn't give up, because you turned your suffering into a story of survival. The truth is, growth rarely happens in comfort. Comfort feels safe, but it doesn't challenge you. Pain, however, demands evolution. It forces you to adapt, to dig deeper, to discover layers of strength you didn't know existed. When everything is going right, you coast through life on autopilot. But when pain hits, you wake up. You start asking questions you've never asked before. You start fighting for clarity, for healing, for meaning. Pain strips away illusions and leaves only truth. And that truth, as painful as it may be, becomes the foundation of real change. The most powerful people in the world are not the ones who've lived easy lives. They are the ones who've been broken, beaten, and bruised, and still chose to rise. They took their heartbreak and turned it into art, their failure and turned it into innovation, their trauma and turned it into purpose. They discovered that pain can be the birthplace of strength. Every time you survive something that tried to break you, you gain proof that you are stronger than you think. You learn that pain doesn't last forever, but the strength it gives you does. That realization changes the way you move through life. You no longer fear discomfort. You embrace it as a catalyst. You begin to see pain as a signal, not a sentence, a sign that growth is coming if you're willing to lean in. It's easy to numb pain, to distract yourself, to pretend it doesn't exist. But every time you avoid it, you miss the opportunity to transform it. Pain demands to be felt, not avoided, because inside that feeling is the lesson you need most. Maybe it's teaching you patience. Maybe it's teaching you forgiveness. Maybe it's teaching you that you deserve more than what you've settled for. When you face pain consciously, you reclaim your power. You stop being a victim of your story and become the author of it. You can't always control what hurts you, but you can control what it creates in you. When pain becomes power, you stop asking, why me? And start saying, try me. You begin to understand that every wound carries wisdom, every struggle builds strength, and every challenge refines your character. Pain introduces you to your most powerful self, the version of you that refuses to quit, that finds light in darkness, and that uses every ounce of suffering as fuel to rise higher. The very thing that once felt like your breaking point can become the foundation of your breakthrough if you choose to let it. You cannot create a new chapter if you keep rereading the old one. Guilt, shame, regret. There are emotional chains that keep you tied to the past. Forgiveness is not about forgetting. It's about releasing. When you forgive yourself, you release the weight that's been holding you down. Freedom begins the moment you stop punishing yourself for being human. Forgive yourself to free yourself. Those words carry a depth that many people never fully understand because self-forgiveness is one of the hardest things to do. It's easy to forgive others for hurting us, but when it comes to forgiving ourselves for the mistakes we've made, the opportunities we've missed, or the people we've hurt, we tend to hold on. We replay the past like a movie that never ends, carrying guilt and shame like a weight that drags us backward every time we try to move forward. But holding on to guilt doesn't make you responsible. It makes you a prisoner. Forgiveness isn't about erasing what happened. It's about releasing yourself from the emotional chains that keep you stuck in it. The truth is, you cannot create a new version of yourself while you're still punishing the old one. Every human being makes mistakes. Every single one of us has moments we wish we could redo. Words we wish we hadn't said, decisions we wish we could change. That's part of being human. It's part of growing. The problem begins when we confuse accountability with condemnation. Accountability says, I take responsibility and I'll learn from it. Condemnation says I'll never be worthy again because of it. One moves you forward, the other traps you. You don't owe your past an eternal apology. What you owe yourself is understanding and compassion. You did the best you could with the awareness, maturity, and emotional tools you had at that moment. When you know better, you do better. That's growth. Forgiveness is how you acknowledge that evolution. Carrying guilt for too long doesn't serve anyone. It doesn't heal the people you've hurt. It doesn't undo what's been done. And it certainly doesn't make you stronger. It just keeps you in emotional debt to a past version of yourself that no longer exists. The truth is you can't grow and hold yourself hostage at the same time. When you refuse to forgive yourself, you're saying, I'm not allowed to move on, and that belief robs you of peace, joy, and purpose. Forgiveness, on the other hand, says, I accept that I'm imperfect, but I refuse to let that imperfection define me. It's not about forgetting. It's about transforming your pain into wisdom. Self-forgiveness is not weakness. It's the ultimate act of strength. It requires courage to face your past without judgment, to look at the version of yourself that made mistakes and still choose to love that person. That's what real healing looks like. You can't hate yourself into becoming better. Growth doesn't come from shame. It comes from compassion. When you forgive yourself, you reclaim your power. You stop letting the past dictate your worth, and you begin to operate from a place of freedom rather than fear. You finally allow yourself to feel joy again, to dream again, to move forward without the constant whisper of regret in your ear. It's important to understand that forgiveness doesn't mean you approve of what happened. It means you accept it as part of your journey. You learn from it, you make peace with it, and then you let it go. Life is about learning, not perfecting. Every wrong turn, every bad decision, every painful moment has something to teach you if you're willing to listen. The lesson might be about boundaries, about patience, about self-respect, or about empathy, but there's always something valuable within the pain. The moment you find that lesson, the guilt begins to lose its grip and freedom takes its place. Forgiving yourself is the doorway to emotional liberation. It allows you to live in the present instead of constantly revisiting the past. It gives you permission to start again without dragging your old mistakes into your new life. It's not a one-time event. It's a continuous act of grace, a daily reminder that you are worthy of love even after failure. When you forgive yourself, you stop living in punishment and start living in purpose. You become lighter, stronger, and freer because you finally understand that your past mistakes don't define you. They refine you. And in that moment of forgiveness, you reclaim your life. Maybe you grew up in chaos. Maybe people told you that you'd never be enough. Maybe you failed more times than you can count. That's your environment, but it's not your destiny. You can rise above your circumstances when your why becomes stronger than your excuses. You can rewrite your story no matter where you started. Your environment does not dictate your destiny. Too many people look at where they come from, the struggles they've faced, or the limitations surrounding them and believe that's all life will ever offer. They convince themselves that their future is predetermined by their past or by the circumstances they were born into. But the truth is, your environment might influence you, yet it never has the authority to define you. The walls around you can shape your habits, your mindset, your opportunities, but they cannot imprison your potential unless you allow them to. History is full of people who came from nothing and built extraordinary lives, not because they were lucky, but because they refused to let their surroundings decide their future. Your environment can be physical, emotional, or social. Maybe you grew up in poverty. Maybe you were surrounded by negativity. Maybe you were told that success wasn't meant for people like you. Those conditions might make the road harder, but they can also make you hungrier. Sometimes, being in a limiting environment gives you the very fire that drives transformation. Struggle breeds strength. When life hands you unfavorable circumstances, you have two choices. You can use them as excuses, or you can use them as reasons to rise. Your destiny begins the moment you stop believing you're a product of your environment and start realizing you're a product of your decisions. It's easy to believe that where you are now determines where you'll end up, but that's not how growth works. Growth is a choice, and choice is available to everyone, no matter where they start. You can choose to break cycles, to outgrow old patterns, to separate yourself from people or situations that keep you small. You can choose to learn, to build, to evolve. Every person who has ever created massive change began in an environment that didn't match their vision. They saw beyond it. They believed in a future that didn't exist yet. That's what faith and determination look like, seeing possibility where others see limitation. Sometimes you have to build the environment you need. If the people around you drain your energy, seek out those who lift you higher. If your surroundings don't challenge you, create new spaces that do. Growth demands that you outgrow certain environments, and that often means walking away from comfort zones that feel familiar but keep you trapped. You don't owe your environment loyalty if it's suffocating your potential. You owe yourself the chance to create a life that aligns with who you're meant to become. Your surroundings can shape your habits, but your choices shape your identity. And once your identity shifts, your destiny follows. People often underestimate how much power they actually have. They say things like, I can't help where I come from. And while that's true, what matters more is where you decide to go from here. You are not bound by your background. You are propelled by your belief. When you start to see your circumstances not as limitations, but as training grounds, everything changes. The tough environment that once made you doubt yourself can become the reason you develop discipline, creativity, and resilience. The scarcity that once made you fearful can become the reason you learn to innovate. Every disadvantage can become an advantage when viewed through the right mindset. The most powerful transformations happen when you stop being a product of your surroundings and start being a product of your vision. The people who create extraordinary lives are not the ones who had perfect conditions. They're the ones who created progress despite imperfection. They use adversity as fuel and resistance as motivation. You don't need the ideal environment to start. You just need the decision to rise above it. The moment you stop letting your environment dictate your limits, you reclaim control of your destiny. You begin to understand that your surroundings may have built your story, but they will never have the final word on your future. The only thing more powerful than your past is your present moment. Right here, right now, you hold the pen to your story. You can choose strength over fear, growth over comfort, action over doubt. Don't wait for the perfect time. It doesn't exist. The perfect time is now, because the best chapters of your life haven't even been written yet. Your future is built right now. Every thought you think, every action you take, every decision you make in this very moment is shaping the life you're going to live tomorrow. People often imagine the future as something far away, a distant point that will magically arrive when conditions are right. But the truth is, the future isn't something you wait for. It's something you create moment by moment, choice by choice. The habits you practice today, the attitude you choose, the mindset you cultivate, these are the bricks that form the foundation of your future. If you want to know what your future will look like, take a close look at what you're doing right now. Because what you do repeatedly becomes who you are, and who you are becomes your destiny. Too many people spend their lives planning for someday they'll start that business, someday they'll take that leap, someday they'll chase that dream, but someday never arrives because it's built on hesitation and fear. The only real time you ever have control over is the present. Right now is the only moment where power exists. Your past is gone, your future hasn't happened yet, but what you do in this second determines the direction of everything that follows. Waiting for the perfect time is an illusion. There will never be a perfect moment. There will only ever be a decision and the courage to act on it. When you begin to treat today as sacred, everything changes. You stop wasting energy on regret or worry and start investing it in action. You realize that small, consistent steps matter more than grand intentions. Change doesn't happen in one giant leap. It happens in a series of deliberate, disciplined choices. The person you become isn't built by what you plan to do. It's built by what you do daily. Every morning you wake up with two options to repeat the patterns of yesterday or to create something better. Every time you choose growth over comfort, focus over distraction, and courage over fear, you're building the version of yourself that will live your future. Your dreams don't just appear out of nowhere. They are constructed through discipline, sacrifice, and persistence in the present. The work you put in today might not show immediate results, but it's planting seeds that will grow into opportunities later. Every act of discipline compounds, every hour of effort accumulates, and every small victory becomes a stepping stone towards something greater. That's how success is built quietly, steadily, in the present moment. The people who accomplish extraordinary things aren't necessarily more talented. They're simply more committed to showing up fully right now. They understand that progress today is the price of freedom tomorrow. It's easy to get caught up thinking about the future as something uncertain and out of your control, but it's actually the most predictable thing in the world. When you live intentionally, your thoughts create your beliefs. Your beliefs drive your actions, and your actions produce your results. That's the chain of creation. If you focus on negativity, fear, or doubt today, you're building a future filled with the same energy. But if you focus on gratitude, determination, and vision, you're constructing a future that reflects strength and abundance. The quality of your life 5 years from now depends on the quality of your thoughts and actions right now. Every decision you make is a vote for the person you're becoming. Every time you choose to learn instead of complain, to act instead of procrastinate, to believe instead of fear, you're laying another brick in the foundation of your destiny. The truth is, life isn't waiting to happen to you. It's responding to what you do in the present. The actions you take today echo forward, shaping opportunities, relationships, and outcomes you haven't even imagined yet. The future doesn't begin next month or next year. It begins now in this moment with what you decide to do at the time, energy, and potential you already have.